Hello. For some time now, I have been calming myself down by reading books. By some time, I mean the last 5, 6 years. When something unnerving happens to me, when I have problems, when I am sad or overwhelmed, I immediately want to read, which is not possible in everyday life, and it gets even worse for me that I cannot grab a book and calm down. I read at home in the evening, but during the day, it is not possible at work. And that is where the problem comes in. I get nervous about something at work, and I cannot grab a book. I start to cry and get depressed. It is like this every time something stresses me out. I have loved reading since I was little. In my childhood, I was very lonely. I did not have a good family. I did not have normal parents. By normal, I mean that my parents were distant. They never supported me. They were never there for me when I needed them. They looked after themselves. They were not interested in my needs. Everything that was important to me in my teenage years was funny to them, it was stupidity, and it made them laugh. They were always dissatisfied and disappointed with me. And that's when I got into reading. Then I had a lull, and now again, only reading can support me in a difficult moment. What could be the explanation for this? First off, thank you for sharing that so openly. I want you to know everything you've just described makes perfect sense, both psychologically and emotionally. What you're experiencing is this incredibly powerful connection between your past and your present. So today, we're going to unpack that. We'll explore what that connection really is and, honestly, what it says about your incredible resilience. Okay, let's get into it. All right, to start, we really need to get to the heart of why reading feels so absolutely essential to you. Because this is clearly way more than just a hobby. For you, it's become a crucial psychological tool. What you've done here is you've developed what we call an emotional coping mechanism. And it's a classic one, and a really healthy one, by the way. Think about it. When you read, your mind gets completely absorbed in a story, in the characters, and that physically calms your nervous system down by redirecting your thoughts away from whatever is causing you stress. You've essentially taught yourself a highly effective way to self-soothe. Now, let's look at this distinction a little closer. On one side, you've got reading as a hobby, something for enjoyment, for leisure. But on the other side, you've got reading as an emotional lifeline. It's like your anchor in a storm. And for you, it's clearly the lifeline. This isn't about passing the time. It's about emotional survival and finding safety. And that's exactly why being denied access to it feels so distressing. It's like having your anchor cut loose right in the middle of that storm. So here's a really crucial point. This is actually a positive dependency. The reading itself isn't the problem at all. The problem is purely situational. You can't access your number one tool for emotional regulation when you're at work and you need it the most. Your mind and body are simply reacting to the absence of their safety net. Okay, so let's connect this back to what you shared about your childhood. This powerful coping mechanism you've built didn't just appear out of thin air. It was forged in your past experiences. Back in a childhood where that emotional support was missing, you did something truly remarkable. You found a substitute. Books became your reliable source of safety. Within their pages, you found a safe environment, a world where emotions were taken seriously, a place that offered consistent comfort, and characters who helped you feel truly understood. Books filled a void that, in other circumstances, would have been filled by parental support. So it makes perfect sense that today, as an adult under stress, your brain's very first instinct is to reach for that exact same source of safety. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a deeply ingrained and intelligent psychological response based on what has always worked to keep you safe. So with that understanding in place, let's move on to some practical strategies. Since you can't always grab a book, the goal is to expand your emotional toolkit with other options that are just as accessible. And this really is the core challenge you're facing at work, isn't it? So what can you do in those moments when stress hits and your primary coping tool, a book, is out of reach? Here are 4 reserve tools you can add to your toolkit. First, try listening to a short audiobook or a story-based podcast. It can engage your imagination in a very similar way. Second, journaling can help you process emotions directly on paper. Third, simple breathing exercises can calm your nervous system in just a few minutes. And finally, even small reading rituals, like reading a few pages of an ebook on your phone during a break, can give you that hit of comfort you need. For this final section, I want to completely reframe this entire experience. Because what you're seeing as a problem is actually evidence of your profound inner strength. Let's be absolutely clear about this. This intense need you feel to read when you're overwhelmed is not a flaw. It is not a weakness, and it is not something that needs to be fixed. This is the real story here. What you've described is a sign of incredibly high internal self-support. At a young age, with no external help, you figured out how to support yourself emotionally. You built your own system for survival and comfort. That is a truly remarkable display of resilience. So, the takeaway from all of this is simple. You didn't just learn to read, you learned how to build a sanctuary inside yourself. You learned to be your own safe harbor. And that is an incredible strength, not a weakness.